Jai Hind, Namaste, hello and a very warm welcome to UPSC for everyone. My name is Abhinav and in this video we'll be discussing selected topics from the Hindu and Indian Express for the date 6th of October 2020. Now in this video we'll be discussing the following topics. Quad to discuss 5G and vaccine. So there's a meeting of Quad foreign ministers, so we'll see what is on agenda. The results of what came out we'll be discussing in tomorrow's video. Then Nobel for Medicine to virus researchers. So this year's Nobel in Medicine has gone to a team of 3 who got the prize for their research into hepatitis C. So we'll see about their research. Then DRDO successfully tests anti-submarine warfare missile system called the SMART. So we'll see what the SMART is all about and what is the importance of anti-submarine warfare missile system. Then MUIVA, NSC and IM demand restart of talks at PM level without conditions. So again, Naga issue. We have discussed Naga issue in detail. So basically Mr. MUIVA wrote a letter to Prime Minister and he has leaked that letter to the public now, and there were some things in that letter. So we'll discuss what those things are and we'll also understand what the PM level meeting means between Government of India and NSC and IM. Then Amazon risks changing from forest to savanna. This is a very disheartening news because of the changing rainfall patterns. There is a risk that Amazon could be changing into a tropical grassland. So how that could happen, we'll discuss. Then RACE 2020. In yesterday's video, we discussed about artificial intelligence. So RACE 2020 is the global summit that India has called the Virtual Global Summit for discussing artificial intelligence. More than 123 countries are participating in it. So we'll see what this is all about. Then India-Myanmar. Yesterday I told you how the relationship between Myanmar and China has gone sour. And to fill the vacuum, there was a very high level delegation of our foreign secretary and our army chief who visited Myanmar for 2 days. So we'll see what the results of that visit were. Then Indian lab in vaccine test network. So there's a vaccine test network comprising of 6 labs, which is coming under SEPI. So we'll see what is the importance of these labs and which lab is under this network. So these are all the issues that we'll be discussing. And for your convenience, I've also added timestamps in the description. So if you want to skip to a selected topic, just click on that and you'll navigate to that point, right? And I have also uploaded the second video in the series of Prelims 2020 analysis. It deals with the questions of economics. So if you're interested, please go and watch that video as well. So this is all we are going to discuss. Now let's get started. Quad to discuss vaccine and 5G among other things. So finally the foreign ministers of Quad, they met in Tokyo and they discussed something. What those things or the result of those discussions we'll discuss tomorrow. So let us see what is on the agenda. We've already discussed that Quad comprises of 4 countries, the US, Japan, India and the Australia. And these countries, they span in the region of Indo-Pacific. This Indo-Pacific is a region comprising of Indian Ocean, where India is at the center of the Indian Ocean, right? And the Pacific Ocean. All the other 3 are Pacific powers. And this is indirectly meant to counter China. So let us see what is on the agenda for this meeting. The outcomes of the meeting, like I said, we'll be discussing tomorrow. Now the agenda to be discussed: cooperation on 5G connectivity, cyber security, a supply chain initiative. Now this is important and we'll see just in some time what it is about. Maritime cooperation and infrastructure and connectivity, as well as distribution plans for COVID-19 vaccines. All the areas where alternatives to Chinese initiatives are needed. The 4 ministers will also discuss the issue of including Australia. So they are yet to take a call on formally inviting Australia to the Malabar exercise, which till now has been a trilateral exercise between India, US and Japan. And if Australia is also called, then it would mean a formalization of Quad, right? The US plan for Blue Dot Network to rate infrastructure projects for funding announced in January is likely to be discussed as well. So I will also be telling you what is the Blue Dot Network. So first of all, like I said, what is Supply Chain Resilience Initiative? Now, like our Honorable Prime Minister also made a statement that this pandemic has shown that we do not or we cannot afford to rely on only one source of supply, right? So countries around the world, they need to diversify their supply chains, and this initiative is just about that. Now basically it was a veiled criticism of China because this pandemic has shown, first of all, China created this problem and then how they try to benefit or profit out of this pandemic And even if you see the Chinese economy, as per their figures, I don't know you can trust them or not, but their figures are showing that their economy is still growing while the rest of the world is into negative territory of growth, right? So that is the problem. So there is a growing clamor for alternative supply chain or a supply chain resilience initiative so that if in future any problem like that occurs, it does not cripple the global economy. Building trade ties is also on the agenda as Japan is keen to push a plan for a trilateral supply chain resilience initiative SCRI with India and Australia to reduce dependence on Chinese manufacturing because majority of Japanese manufacturing takes place in China and Australia up till now had very good trade relations with China. Now they have gone sour and diplomatically they have been into spats. So we will discuss that some other time. So now both of them are looking to get out of the Chinese clutch and Japan is even paying its companies to shift out of China and to set a base somewhere else. Then again, it is a big opportunity for India because we can have those manufacturing units in India. Especially India has refused to be a part of ASEAN-led RCEP. I told you why. Because China has a free trade agreement with RCEP. If we join, then we would virtually be into a free trade agreement with China. And if you remember, we discussed the news as well, where we were checking the source of origin, right? The Ministry of Finance has changed the source of origin conditions that whatever we import, it should be made in those countries only, right? The ASEAN countries, because what China was doing, it was sending stuff to the ASEAN countries and from the ASEAN countries under our FTA, we were bringing them at zero duty, but it was made in China product, not made in ASEAN countries product, right? We discussed that. You can go back and refer to that. So again, India is amicable to allowing any Chinese production or products into our country. So that is why we also did not sign the RCEP. So Japan is now keen on this initiative. Now, what are India's issues? India will also discuss how other Quad countries can help in building east-west connectivity from India to ASEAN countries to counter the north-west connectivity from China. Now again, it is a very pertinent question and a very practical question for us because all the other three, they are based in the Pacific. So how will they help us in the Indian Ocean? Though Indian Ocean is increasingly becoming important, and I told you in earlier video how countries like France and Germany are also coming up with their Indian Ocean policy. So Indian Ocean is increasingly becoming popular and important, but we want to know how these other Quad countries can help us in our endeavors. For example, East-West connectivity, which is a part of our Look and Act East Asia policy, right? So we want to see how they can help us because we don't want it should be another thing on the paper. It should have some practical implications. Then only would we be happy to join this because this Quad is being dubbed as the Asian NATO. So it comes with its own baggage. So if we get into something like that, we want to have something for ourselves as well. That is but natural. As well as joint funding for infrastructural and connectivity projects in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, what is the Blue Dot Network? I told you I will be telling you that. It is a multi-stakeholder initiative to bring together governments, the private sector and civil society to promote high-quality, trusted standards for global infrastructure development. Now, China is doing infrastructure development under its BRI initiative. So yesterday we discussed BRI, I showed you on the map, right? So China is building massive infrastructure. And I also told you about the debt diplomacy that the Chinese are playing, that they are forcing all the burden on the partner countries. I gave you example of Bangladesh and I also told you about Hambantota port of Sri Lanka, right? And how they are virtually buying out Pakistan. So this is what is happening. So as a counter to that BRI, countries led by America, they are coming up with a Blue Dot Network because the quality of Chinese infrastructure is not good and it is not durable. So they will be giving certifications of high quality, trusted global infrastructure development. So it is expected to serve as a globally recognized evaluation and certification system for roads, ports and bridges with a focus on the Indo-Pacific region. It seems to be planned as a direct counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative. However, unlike the BRI, the BDN would not offer public funds or loans for the project. It will just certify the quality of the project, which in itself is very, very important. So this is about the Quad news. Now moving on to the next. 2020 Nobel Prize in Physiology Medicine. First of all, please take a screenshot of this. Now, this year's Nobel in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to Harvey J. Alter, Michael Houghton, and Charles M. Rice for the discovery of hepatitis C virus. Now, what used to happen in the 60s, that before they discovered about this hepatitis C virus, lot of people were getting hepatitis C through blood transfusion and they were dying and their livers were getting damaged, but people or doctors or the medical community did not know why this was happening. So their research established the presence of another strain of hepatitis called hepatitis C, which is a blood-borne infection or virus infection in the blood, and it affects the liver. It causes cirrhosis and liver damage, and it can also lead to death in patients, right? So together, all of these three, they established the presence of hepatitis C and also how to detect it. And in doing so, they enabled the saving of so many lives which could be saved. The transfusions were now tested for hepatitis C virus before being administered to anyone, right? So Alter, he investigated the hepatitis in patients through chimpanzee. He transfused the blood in chimpanzee and he detected the presence of hepatitis. Then Houghton, he did the DNA sample analysis and he found the hepatitis C as a distinct type of hepatitis. And then Rice, he created an engineered version and he basically proved a way to detect hepatitis C. So together, all of these three individuals have got the Nobel. Now let us quickly go through this. So hepatitis affects the livers. Hepatitis types A, B, C, D, and E. It is a viral disease which causes liver inflammation. There are several types of hepatitis. This year's Nobel, discovery of hepatitis C virus. Along with other blood-borne form of hepatitis, hepatitis B, hepatitis C often requires treatment to cure. It can lead to cirrhosis and liver failure, and there is currently no vaccine available. So you get infected, you need to get treated for it, but you do not have any vaccine for it. Now, what were their individual contributions? Alter investigated the hepatitis in patients who received blood transfusions. Blood from these patients transmitted the disease to chimpanzees and he showed that it was a distinct form of viral hepatitis. Then Houghton identified the DNA fragments from the new virus in chimpanzee blood. He identified virus proteins from the fragments using hepatitis antibodies, allowing the classification of hepatitis C. So he found a new type of hepatitis or a distinct form of viral hepatitis and he established that it was hepatitis C. Then Rice created an engineered version of hepatitis C virus and showed that it could cause hepatitis in chimpanzee. This proved that hepatitis C virus was the cause of explained hepatitis caused by transfusions. So together, their work led to this discovery of hepatitis C and it saved many lives because now blood transfusions are tested beforehand for hepatitis C infection. Now, why does this research matter? The discovery of hepatitis C virus allowed for the development of tests to detect it, eliminate hepatitis as a result of blood transfusions in many parts of the world. It also allowed for the development of effective drugs to treat the disease. So this is about the Nobel 2020 for Physiology. RAISE 2020. So if you remember in yesterday's video, we had a discussion about artificial intelligence and I told you to promote artificial intelligence in India. India is organizing a virtual summit called RAISE 2020 and it was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister. So let us see what this is all about. Now some facts and figures about AI in India. I'm sorry, this is not high definition. This is all I could get. So let us try to make sense of it. Please take your screenshots. Now India is the second largest exporter of ICT services with AI data and analytics, the fastest growing area for IT service providers. India ranks third in terms of high quality research publication in artificial intelligence. Now I am telling you all these figures because they are given by Government of India, the most credible source when it comes to your examination. Indian AI startups have witnessed higher than global average growth since 2011 and in 2016 ranked third among G20 countries measured by the number of AI startups. India ranks third in fuzzy logic, fourth in machine learning, and fifth in NLP. Now, if some of you are inquisitive, then please find out what is fuzzy logic, what is machine learning, and what is NLP, because you can't expect everything to be spoon-fed, and if everything is spoon-fed, you will never appreciate it and you will forget it. So please, I implore all of you to do your own research, because if you see the prelim of 2020, you would get to know the importance of studying on your own and not relying on shortcuts, right? Now, India is ranked 5th best country in the world for AI jobs. So this is about the status of AI in India. So you can quote these figures wherever you want. Now, let us see what this news is saying. So what is RAISE? It is a global AI summit being organized by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY. The 5-day event has invited global experts from various countries to deliberate on using AI as a social empowerment tool in the field of healthcare, agriculture, education, and smart mobility. They will also explore how to use AI for pandemic preparedness, right? So they would be using AI for social empowerment tool. So these are the keywords. So this is social empowerment tool, healthcare, agriculture, education, smart mobility, and there could be n number of implications and applications of AI. One of the focuses of the Global Virtual Summit will be to leveraging the power of AI for pandemic preparedness. Stakeholders from about 123 countries are expected to participate in the event. So once this gets over, so we'll get a whole gist or a summary of what happened, and then we'll tell you all about it. Now again, Google Paytm issue, like I told you that it was going to go big. So yesterday we discussed how the startups, Indian startups led by Paytm, are raising their voice against Google's decision to compulsorily force them to use Google billing system for any transactions on the Play Store. So now Google has decided to defer that decision till March 2021. So it is just a temporary solution. And then again, Google says that this is the practice that we are already implementing in India, and 97% of the players are already paying that. But global experts say that this is too much, because globally 2% are charged and Google is charging 30% in India. Then again, please remember that Paytm is the biggest rival to GPay or Google Pay, right? So we already know what has happened till now in this. So I'll just quickly go through this. So Google is extending the deadline till March 2022, while adding that it would also be setting up listening sessions. See, listening sessions. So they're doing a favor with the leading Indian startups to understand their concerns. Now, what is the issue? We've already discussed in detail. 30% commission. Globally, it is just 2%. So it is way too much. Google stand. Google is saying that already 97% of developers with the apps on its store are already complying with the policy. Now, Google is saying that, to be clear, the policy only applies if a developer charges users to download their app or they sell in-app digital items. So this is what the stand of Google is. This is open to interpretation, right? So this is all about it. I'm just rushing through it because we have discussed this issue 3-4 times already. So that is why I'm not getting into it. MoIVA, NSC and IM demand restart of talks at PM level without conditions. So in a previous video, I have discussed in exhaustive detail, the India-Naga problem and the peace process and the role of R.N. Ravi and the problems that are being observed these days and what is the present state, right? So you can go back and watch that video. Now let us see what Mr. MoIVA has to say. So basically, they wrote a letter to the Prime Minister 7 months ago, and now they have made the letter public. So see, these are all the unilateral actions by NSC and IM. They even made the Naga Accord of 2015 public, right? Because Government of India has neither acknowledged it or denied what NSC and IM leaked in the public. Government of India has not given any reaction. So there is a credibility gap, right? Now they are saying that we have released this letter because we want to be accountable and we want to have transparency with our own Naga people as to what is happening between us. Now I will tell you what is this PM level talk, right? And also what are the concerns of Mr. MoIVA, and we'll also see the status of Mr. MoIVA. So NSC and IM released letter written to PM Modi 7 months ago. NSC and IM wants the peace talks to be restarted at the level of Prime Minister without any precondition and in a third country. In fact, this was the condition earlier as well, and some meetings or talks were held abroad. These were the conditions of the outfit, which now prefers to be called NSCM, or the National Socialist Council of Nagalim. I've already discussed what is Nagalim with map and everything. Had said before declaring a ceasefire with the armed forces in mid-1997. The first few rounds of talks were held abroad. Now, who is MoIVA? He is the General Secretary of NSCN-IM and a key negotiator in the peace process. Mr. Muiva is the Ato Kilonsar, meaning the Prime Minister in the government run by NSCN-IM. That is why he is saying Prime Minister level talks. That means talks between Mr. Muiva and Prime Minister Modi, and that too in a foreign country. Now in his letter, Mr. Muiva also expressed concern over the actions of NIA and Assam Rifles because they have been using a heavy hand on the Naga outfit. Stating that most of the important issues except for Naga flag and constitutions have been resolved, Mr. Muiva brought to Mr. Modi's notice some matters of serious concern regarding the activities of Union Home Ministry, NIA and Assam Rifles. So this is what he wrote in the letter, and they have made this letter public, and they are saying that there is a general lack of interest from the central government, and that is why the talks are struck. But central government stand is somewhat different, and in light of what has happened in recent times in Nagaland, it is really hard to know who is saying what and what is right and what is wrong. But let us hope that this issue is resolved through talks, because it has been way too long. Whatever the decision is, it should give space to the Naga aspirations, but within the 4 pillars of Indian Constitution. That has been our stand. And Naga people are also our people. Yes, they feel some kind of alienation. India, Myanmar. So in yesterday's video, I also told you how China has created problems for Myanmar. It is dealing both sides. On one side, it is pretending to help the Myanmarese government, but on the other side, it is also helping the rebels, giving them arms who are carrying out terrorist activities within Myanmar, right? So that has soured the relationship. And Myanmar is looking for a new partner as India is ready to fill that vacuum. So our Foreign Secretary and the Army Chief, General Navarne, they went on a 2-day visit to Myanmar. And this is a very, very rare event in diplomatic circles, because 2 very senior officers, especially the Army Chief, went to 2-day visit to Myanmar. So some of the things we know, some probably we won't get to know what happens behind closed doors and the government dealings. But this visit was very, very substantial. So let us see what all has come out of this 2-day visit. Some of the key takeaways of the 2-day visit by Foreign Secretary Harsh Vardhan Shringla and Army Chief General M.M. Naravne to Myanmar. A package of 3,000 vials of antiviral remdesivir, support of ensuring a safe, sustainable and speedy return of Rohingya refugees. Now this is a very touchy subject, right? Then operationalization of the crucial Sitwe port in Myanmar's Rakhine state by March 2021. So I'll just show you on a map what is Sitwe port and what is its importance. A liaising office in Naypyidaw, a bust of Bal Gangadhar Tilak in Mandalay jail. Now this is also important because it is going to be 100th death anniversary of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Mandalay jail has some importance connected to his life, and we'll just see that, right? Translation of Indian epics into Burmese language and a mutual commitment to not allow activities against each other. The 2 sides also discussed progress in the ongoing India-assisted infrastructure projects such as the Trilateral Highway and the Kaladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project. Now let me show you those projects. So this is Kaladan Multimodal Project. Basically, see, if India wants to send supplies across the northeast, this region is known as Chicken's Neck. This region, it is a 32-kilometer wide stretch, and it is strategically very, very important. But because of the topographical problem, it takes very long time to send supplies across to the northeast by this route. The other option is to send it through Bangladesh, and India has been doing that. But then again, for example, if we want to send something to Tripura or Manipur, right? So the route would be very, very long. So a better route would be to send it like this. Multimodal means that you will be using sea, river and road network. So see, this is how it's going to work. From Kolkata, Hooghly River, then we'll come to the port, and from the port we'll go to the Sitwe port. Then from Sitwe port to Paletwa, this Kaladan river jetty would take the stuff, and then we'll be building a highway, this Zorinpuri border crossing, and then there is a 100-kilometer highway which would connect this Zonipura border crossing to Aiswal. So this is the whole route, and this is called Kaladan Multimodal Project. Multimodal again, why? Because multiple modes, sea, river and then roadways. Now this is the Trilateral Highway. This will start from India and it will go to Thailand. So it is connecting 3 countries, India, Myanmar and Thailand. it will start from More Tamu, then Mandalay, Naypyidaw, Bagao, and then to Thailand. So this is the route of trilateral highway. So these are the two projects for which India is working with Myanmar, right? Now, bust of Bal Gangadhar Tilak. This is to commemorate his 100th death anniversary. It was during his incarceration in the Mandalay jail in the then Burma that Tilak wrote Gita Rahasya, an exposition of Bhagavad Gita. So, important for your prelims as well, Gita Rahasya, which was an exposition of Bhagavad Gita. And all the students who would be appearing for mains, they should know about Tilak. And also those who are appearing for 2021, do your research on Tilak because it is his 100th death anniversary. So you could expect some questions about Tilak, right? DRDO successfully tests anti-submarine warfare missile system. So this is very, very important and it is called SMART, where S stands for supersonic. I've already explained time and again what is supersonic. Speed above 1 Mach is supersonic. What is 1 Mach? The speed of sound. Now, torpedoes are very, very important, right? Because like I explained in yesterday's video as well, we need to have a nuclear triad, right? And in a nuclear triad, the submarine part is very, very important because if unfortunately we face a nuclear attack, then our retaliation capability depends on submarines. Now, another important part about this missile is that generally the torpedoes that we have in submarines, they have a short range, but this has a long range that is beyond torpedo range from 50 to 650 kilometers. Another reason why this is important is because China is heavily building up its submarine arsenal. And I told you that Chinese submarines were trying to also navigate the waters near the Andaman Sea, right? And we send them back. So we can expect more such intrusions in future. And this war or the standoff that we are having with China, it could spill over to the Indian Ocean region and the Pacific as well. And with Quad taking shape, China is getting more jittery. So we could see such things in future. So this is a very, very big thing or a good thing for our armed forces. So let us see what is this about. DRDO has successfully flight tested the supersonic missile assisted release of Torpedo SMART. Now what is SMART? It is a missile assisted release of lightweight anti-submarine torpedo system for anti-submarine warfare operations for beyond torpedo range. And this beyond torpedo range is 50 to 650 kilometers and I've already told you its importance. Now why rocket assisted torpedoes matter? Now they are important because see the surface warships, especially of the Western navies, they carry small torpedoes because carrying heavy torpedoes, they could carry less and it increases the weight of the warship, right? And torpedoes are very, very essential for anti-submarine warfare and surface ships need to be guarded against submarine attacks as well, right? Now this smart missile development is very, very important, like I said, because China is continuing its near relentless development of both nuclear powered and conventional submarines. So China is investing heavily in submarines and there are strategic reasons for that because China wants to save itself in the Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific region. I've told you in 2-3 videos why that region is important, right? The development of SMART is all the more important because it can go beyond torpedo range and it is also supersonic. So this can also be a game changer in future. So that is why this SMART test was very, very important. Amazon risks changing from forest to savanna, Paris. Basically this report is by Nature Communications, which is Paris based. That is why I've written Paris here. This was the headline in Hindu. It says that as much as 40% of Amazon risks crossing a tipping point from rainforest to savanna as greenhouse gas emissions reduce the rainfall needed to sustain its unique ecosystem. We already know that the Amazonian rainforests are the most species diverse ecosystems on the planet, right? And they are also called the lungs of the earth because of the forest density and their role in producing oxygen, right? Now, because of this climate change, what is happening? That the rainfall patterns are changing. For example, we discussed how the monsoon pattern is in India is also changing, and we basically changed our LPA, revised it from 89 centimeter to 88 centimeter, and then we also saw what changes are happening and rainfall is becoming more and more erratic. So this is happening throughout the world. So if this happens or if this continues to happen at the same rate in the Amazon, then that region could soon turn from a rainforest to a savanna, that is a tropical grassland. So such a big difference. And you would be amazed to know that at one point of time, the famous Sahara Desert was also a very thick forest. But because of climate change, it turned into a desert. Now, see, climate change is a natural phenomena. Please pay attention that climate change is a natural phenomena. But we talk so much about this climate change because of human activities has accelerated the rate of climate change. What happens is that the earth frequently goes into the period of glaciation and interglaciation. Glaciation occurs when the earth enters into an ice age, and interglacial period is when the ice melts and the sea level rises. So this has already happened 6 times. We are in the 7th cycle, but the rate at which this has to happen has increased tremendously because of the anthropogenic activities or the human activities, and that has led to increase in the climate change rate. So that is having many impacts. So in future, thousands of years later, this Amazon would also probably be a desert because of the changes that are happening. Because first it will turn from a rainforest to a grassland, then from grassland to a shrubland, and finally it would go into a desert. It is already facing the problem of desertification because forests are being burned, rainfall pattern is changing, many things are happening. So we need to act now to arrest this change. Indian lab in vaccine test network. So this test network is part of CEPI. It is opening such labs in 5 countries to standardize and harmonize the results of the vaccine trials. Now this lab, which has been shortlisted, is under DBT, or the Department of Biotechnology, right? So let us see what this is about. The Transnational Health Science and Technology Institute, an autonomous institute of Department of Biotechnology, has been chosen by an international non-profit coalition for epidemic preparedness innovations, CEPI, as one of the global network of laboratories for centralized assessment of COVID-19 vaccines. The CEPI network will initially involve 6 labs. Sorry, I said 5, 6 labs, 1 each in Canada, Britain, Italy, Netherlands, Bangladesh, and India. All the labs would use the same reagents and follow a common set of protocols to measure the immune response of multiple vaccine candidates under development and trial. So this would lead to homogenization of results, and this will also result in earlier completion of phase 3 trials. The INCEPI mission for the establishment of BSL-3 Biosafety Level 3 facility is a translational laboratory for platform technologies and bioassay laboratory for development of assays to measure clinical immunogenicity. So this is not very important for you. All you need to know is that it is a network of 6 labs, right? India is part of those labs, and these labs would harmonize the test results, and they would give the harmonized reports about the vaccine development and the trial results so that a vaccine can come out fast, which is both safe and efficacious. So folks, that is all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel, and also please press the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any new video that we post. Also, if you like our video, please give us a thumbs up. And also please connect with us on our Instagram page, UPSC for Everyone. See you next time. Till then, stay happy, stay safe, and have a great day. Namaste and Jai Hind.